The forest was eerily still when the bark rang out. Not just once. It was frantic, unrelenting, piercing. By the time the other campers in the distance stirred awake and came toward the noise, only Luna, a golden retriever with matted fur and bloodshot eyes, stood outside a flapping green tent, her paws digging into the earth, her body shaking. Inside, Emma Cade was gone. No blood, no broken zipper, no signs of a struggle. Just an unzipped tent, a sleeping bag twisted open, and a pair of worn sneakers still neatly beside the entry. Her boyfriend, Tyler Moore, 27, sat on a nearby log, arms crossed, dazed. His flannel shirt was damp with sweat, though the air was cool. I thought she went to pee, he muttered when the first officer on scene asked what happened. She does that at night sometimes. Something didn't sit right with Deputy Rivas, the first to respond. It had taken Tyler nearly 6 hours to call 911. When asked why, he blinked. I thought she'd come back. His voice cracked, but his eyes were dry. Luna didn't move from Emma's side of the tent. She paced in small circles, occasionally whining, her nose sniffing the spot where Emma had last lain. When anyone approached, she growled low. The couple had driven from Portland to the Umpqua National Forest 2 days earlier. Emma had posted smiling photo on Instagram just 18 hours before she vanished, her arm around Tyler, a thermos in hand. Luna perched beside them, tongue out. She looked happy as she was. Tyler insisted during the initial police interview. We were good, real good. We just needed a break from the city. This was supposed to be our reset. Detectives noted that Tyler didn't ask many questions that morning. He didn't ask what they were doing to search. He didn't ask if they thought she was okay. He just sat. Emma's phone, wallet, and jacket were still in the tent. The keys to their rental car were tucked into her backpack, untouched. It was as if she had simply stepped out and dissolved into air. Dawn crept in slowly, casting gold on the misty pines. The forest was quiet, save for the faint echo of radio static from the search team and Luna's occasional whimper. The search widened. A helicopter buzzed above. Dogs were brought in, including Luna herself, who strained against her leash, leading trackers a few hundred yards northeast, then stopped at a rocky ledge. She barked once, then sat, confused. Nothing, no trail, no scent beyond that point. She's still warm, Emma's mother would later say about Luna. When police returned her, she sleeps by the front door now, every night, waiting. But on that first day, Luna's devotion was all that remained. As officers combed the undergrowth, Tyler offered to help, but he never looked up when they called her name. He never shouted at himself, not even once. A local reporter wrote, "If grief makes men silent, then Tyler Moore was the quietest man on earth that day." That evening, investigators took the tent into evidence. Tyler rode back with them, hands clasped between his knees. When asked again why he didn't call for help sooner, he gave the same answer. She just needed space. But deep in the folds of her abandoned sleeping bag, officers found something strange. A single, curved canine claw, pressed into the nylon lining. Too large for Luna, too curved for a raccoon. They logged it, bagged it. No one said it out loud, but the air shifted. Something had come into that tent. Something Emma didn't walk away from. And miles away, across a fallen ridge and overgrown thickets, Luna would later return to that rocky ledge, nose to the wind, tail down, staring at something no one else could see. The morning after Emma disappeared, the first rays of sunlight cut across the forest floor like blades. Pine needles glistened with dew. The scent of smoke lingered from last night's fire, but it wasn't light or smell that filled the campsite. It was emptiness. Emma's absence now had a presence of its own, thick, suffocating. Tyler sat quietly near the fire pit, sipping cold coffee from a dented thermos, not once looking into the woods. Detective Iris Rowan stood a few feet away, notebook in hand, watching him. "You said you woke up at 2:15 a.m. and noticed she was gone?" she asked calmly. "Yeah," Tyler nodded, staring into the trees. "Her side of the tent was open, and your first thought was, what exactly?" "That she just went for a walk, maybe to clear her head," he replied, voice thin in pitch dark. Tyler shifted, scratching his forearm. We'd had a small argument earlier. Nothing serious. She needed air. Rowan tilted her head. But you waited until nearly 8 a.m. to call for help. His jaw tensed. I didn't want her to panic. Thought she'd come back. He said it again. That phrase, like a scratched record. I thought she'd come back. But Luna, Emma's golden retriever, told a different story. He hadn't moved from the tent's edge since officers arrived. She whimpered softly. Head turned toward a dense thicket beyond the tree line. Ears twitching like she could hear something no one else could. She's not usually like this. But a volunteer from the local K9 unit. Most dogs pick up a new scent and move on. She's locked in. Rowan made a note. That afternoon, a silver SUV rolled up the gravel road. Emma's parents, Janice and Mark Cade, stepped out, Janice clutching a photograph of Emma as if holding it could summon her back. Mark's face was stone, but his hands trembled. Tyler approached them, arms open. Janice stepped back. She would have called, Mark said flatly. Emma never just disappears. I know, Tyler replied. Eyes moist now. I didn't want her to believe something bad happened. Janice's voice broke. But you waited hours. Their daughter had been missing for nearly 36 hours by then. No signs, no sounds. Just Luna's soft growls every time someone stepped too close to the trees behind the tent. Reporters began arriving by evening. A young journalist from Portland News snapped a photo of the campsite. It later appeared online with the caption, "She vanished while he slept." Detective Rowan interviewed Tyler again. This time inside a ranger station, under harsh fluorescent lights. Tyler, she said, gently but firmly, you were the last person to see her. This delay, it matters. He swallowed hard. I didn't hurt her. We didn't say you did. But that's what you're thinking, isn't it? Rowan met his gaze. I think when people don't act like they've lost something, it usually means they haven't. Outside. Night fell again. Luna refused to eat. She curled beside Emma's empty sleeping bag, ears alert, eyes on the trees. Then, just after midnight, she started barking, low, persistent. Facing the same thicket as before, officers searched the area again. Still nothing. But Rowan made a decision. Tomorrow, they'd bring in cadaver dogs, and secretly, she ordered Emma's sleeping bag sent to forensics to test for fibers, residues, anything not human. Detective Rowan sat alone in the ranger station's back office, flipping through a leather-bound notebook with a frayed elastic band, Emma Cade's journal, found in the corner of the tent, tucked under her pillow, hidden. Private, the first few pages were innocent, song lyrics, doodles of flowers, camping gear checklists. By page 5, the tone shifted. The ink became darker, the handwriting sharper, angrier, rushed. Sometimes, I feel like I'm sleeping next to a stranger. I don't recognize his eyes anymore. I say something small, and he makes me feel like I've done something unforgivable. Owen kept reading. I miss my voice. I don't even argue now. What's the point? He always makes it my fault. Each entry peeled back a layer. Emma hadn't felt safe for months. She described Tyler's sudden silences, the way he'd ignore her for days, only to later act as if nothing happened. He'd sulk when she wanted space, then blame her for his moods. She walked on eggshells, the way he looks at me when he's angry. It scares me, but then he cries, and I end up apologizing every time, even when I know I did nothing wrong. One entry, dated 2 weeks before the trip, stopped Rowan cold. I'm going to end it. I'll tell him after the camping trip. I want to be safe when I do it. Round people, somewhere public, outside. Clouds rolled in over the forest. The rangers zipped up their tents. Inside that dim office, under yellow lamplight, a different kind of storm gathered. Rowan read the next line twice. Luna knows. She always barks when he raises his voice. She sleeps curled against my chest now, like she's protecting me. The page after was blank. Then nothing. The rest of the journal was empty. Back at the campsite, Tyler remained quiet. He sat alone on a folding chair, facing the ashes of a long-dead fire. He hadn't asked to see the journal. He hadn't even asked if anything had been found. A forensic tech emerged from the tent with a sealed bag. Her pillowcase had mascara stains. She said, fresh, like she cried herself to sleep. That night, Rowan reviewed body cam footage from the search. Something in Tyler's face, his detachment, gnawed at her. In one clip, an officer asked him if Emma might have left on her own. Tyler's mouth had twitched. No. He said flatly, she wouldn't do that to me. Not she wouldn't leave, not she wouldn't vanish. Just, she wouldn't do that to me. Control ownership. Rowan closed the laptop, stomach turning. Later, a park volunteer brought Rowan Emma's backpack. Inside was a USB drive with photos. Most showed Emma smiling. The final few, taken the week before the trip, revealed something different. Emma sitting at a diner table, alone, eyes distant, a bruise, faint, under her left sleeve. Luna beside her, alert. There was no police report, no medical records, just that photo, that bruise. In the background, someone had written in Ketchupon. Paper placemat, be happy. It looked like Emma's handwriting. The deeper Rowan went, the clearer it became. Emma hadn't just vanished. It had been dismantled, piece by piece, long before she disappeared. Emotionally, quietly, repeatedly. But even under the weight of it all, she had tried to plan her exit, methodically, quietly, waiting for the right time, a time that never came. Back at the edge of the forest, Luna growled again. Not loud. Just enough to draw a deputy's flashlight toward the trees. The beam landed on something strange, a dark red fabric scrap, fluttering from a low-hanging branch. Emma's. Rowan stood up. The next chapter of this mystery wasn't in Emma's journal. It still out there, buried in the forest, waiting to be unearthed. Detective Rowan sat across from Collie Trenton, Emma's co-worker from the downtown design firm. We're in a quiet corner of a cafe, away from the flashing cameras and frenzied reporters that had begun circling the case like vultures. She was different the last few months, Collie said, stirring her untouched tea. Quieter, more focused, but also more distracted, if that makes sense. Rowan nodded. Did she ever talk about trouble at home? Collie hesitated. She didn't say much directly. Sometimes she'd come into work with this look, like she'd just finished crying in the car. I knew something was off, but she never wanted to burden people. Rowan pulled out her notebook. Did she mention anyone new in her life? Pause, then a slow nod. Griffin, Collie whispered. Griffin Lake. He worked 2 floors down. In the art department. Freelance illustrator. They had the same lunch hour. I'd catch them sometimes, laughing in the break room. What? Their relationship? Collie shrugged, uneasy. I don't know. Emma said he was just easy to talk to. He'd gone through a rough divorce last year. Very private guy. Kind of awkward, but sweet. He listened to her. Rowan's pen stopped mid-word. She had heard that before. Emma didn't feel listened to. Did Tyler know about Griffin? Collie raised an eyebrow. No. God, no, Emma. Made sure of that. She even created a separate message thread under a fake name in her phone, Monarch. Only found out when she accidentally left it open one day, back at the station. Rowan obtained a warrant for Emma's cloud backup. The recovered texts were subtle at first. Shared playlists, jokes, sketches sent back and forth. But slowly, emotional intimacy bloomed. Monarch, I feel seen when I talk to you. I haven't felt that in a long time. Griffin, then talk to me forever. I'm not going anywhere. Asterisk. The last message from Griffin came 2 days before the camping trip. Monarch, after this weekend, I'll be free. Meet me Tuesday. I need to finally choose myself. But Griffin never responded. Rowan tried to locate him. No answer at his apartment. His Instagram, once filled with vibrant drawings and time-lapse sketches, had been wiped clean the day after. Emma vanished. His freelance website gone. Even his LinkedIn had been deactivated. He ghosted the world, Rowan muttered, staring at a now blank screen. For a man who had lived almost entirely online, Griffin had erased himself, which left Rowan with a gut full of questions. Was Griffin hiding from something, or someone? Evening, she called Emma's father, Mark, and asked if they had ever heard the name. No. He replied, voice heavy with grief. She never told us about any other man, just Tyler. Maybe she didn't want you to worry. There was silence on the line, then Mark's quiet words. We would have wanted her to leave him. We just didn't know how bad it was. Meanwhile, Tyler remained unshaken in interviews. When asked again if Emma had seemed distant lately, he said only, "She was tired. She worked too much, that's all." Rowan didn't believe him, because sometimes silence wasn't denial. It was strategy outside. The evidence team returned with news. The scrap of fabric found hanging from the low branch had tested positive for Emma's blood, dried, faint, but their dot it had likely been torn in flight, which meant she had been running. But from who? Griffin, the man who vanished, or Tyler, the man who stayed? 12 months, 3 seasons. Countless search parties, interviews, media appeals, and nothing. The Emma Cade case had gone cold. Detective Rowan still kept the red string board in her office. The threads sagged now, dusty and fading. Tyler had moved out of state. Griffin was still missing. Emma, she had become a face on a flyer stapled to trees and telephone poles. Slowly curling under rain. Then came the call. It was early morning. The kind where mist clung to the road like breath on glass. A ranger from Umpqua Forest had spotted a golden retriever limping alone along a remote trail, 15 miles northeast of the original campsite. The dog wore a frayed pink collar. Luna. Her coat was thinner, rough with burrs. She had a slight tremor in her legs, and her breathing was shallow, but she was alive. She wouldn't let anyone touch her at first. She growled, snapped, barked toward the tree line, as if warning someone or something not to come closer. But what stunned the ranger wasn't her survival. It was what she carried. Clenched between Luna's teeth was a small, blood-stained fabric scrap, faded yellow like it had once been part of a t-shirt. Tucked in the seam, almost too small to notice, was a worn laundry tag. Katie. At the lab, DNA confirmed what Rowan already feared. The blood on Luna's paws and on the fabric belonged to Emma. The case was no longer cold. It was back and burning. Rowan watched Luna through the glass of the animal trauma ward. The dog wouldn't sleep unless Emma's old sweater was placed beside her kennel. Her eyes darted to shadows. She flinched at loud noises. When shown a photo of Emma, Luna barked once, tail twitching. The vet said the blood on her paws was likely from an old, reopened wound. "She's been traveling a long time," he added, possibly retracing a route. Rowan pulled up a map of the forest. The spot where Luna was found was rugged and rarely used, far off trail. The area had been outside the original search grid. Why had she gone there now? Why had she come back? The following morning, Rowan brought in a search and rescue officer. Officer Glenn Morgan, known for his quiet instincts and deep knowledge of the forest. "She didn't just wander," Morgan said after reviewing Luna's path. "Dogs like her, they follow memory, loyalty." Rowan asked the question hanging in the air. "Do you think she was staying near something?" Morgan looked up. "Or someone. They planned a new search." Meanwhile, the media pounced. Headlines. Laird, Emma Cade's dog returns 1 year later. With clue in her teeth. Social media exploded. Emma's name trended again. People wanted answers. So did Rowan. That evening, she opened Emma's journal one more time. Her eyes landed on a line she'd missed the first time. In light pencil at the edge of the page, "If I disappear, follow." It was barely legible, a scribble beside a doodle of Luna, almost like Emma had written it without truly believing she'd ever need to. But now, it felt prophetic. Rowan circled the date Luna was found. Then she drew a red line from that point on the map, back toward the rocks, the cliffs, the trees. They were going in again. And this time, Luna would lead the way. The forest looked the same, tall pines reaching like spires, ferns thick as blankets, sunlight broken into trembling shards through the canopy. But Detective Rowan knew better now. Beauty meant nothing. Not here. Luna led them. It took 3 days of slow, methodical tracking. Her limp was worse now, but she pressed forward, nose to the ground, stopping only to sniff or bark at moss-covered logs or animal tracks. On the 4th morning, they reached a narrow slope choked with undergrowth. The area hadn't been searched. The year before, too remote, too dense. But Luna froze, hackles rising, and let out a long, low growl. "Here," said Officer Glenn Morgan, kneeling beside her. Signaling, Rowan stepped carefully through the ferns. The ground was uneven. The dirt unusually soft. Kneeling, she noticed a faint indentation, like something once lay there. Nearby, Morgan sifted through ashes. Someone had tried to burn something here. Charred wood, scorched leaves, and half buried in the soot, a strip of cloth melted into the dirt. It was Emma's scarf, pale blue, just like in her social media photos. Rowan remembered it well. She sealed it into an evidence bag. No body, she murmured. Something happened here. The forensics team arrived within hours. They cleared brush and dug through the topsoil. Inches down, they found it, a fragment of bone. Small, weathered, possibly human. Rowan crouched beside the lead tech. How old? Could be a year, could be longer, he said. We'll need lab confirmation. They continued searching. Hours passed. Sun began to fall behind the trees, but the digging didn't stop. Near dusk, one of the cadaver dogs barked sharply, a signal. Another piece, a burned shoelace, embedded in the earth. Then, beneath a rotted log, a rusted charm bracelet. Baked in mud. Rowan turned it over in her gloved hand. On one of the charms, nearly rubbed smooth, was the faint engraving, E.K. Emma Cade. Luna sat quietly beside the disturbed ground, tail still, eyes watching something deeper in the trees. Silence settled over the team, not fear, but reverence. This was no longer just a missing persons case. This was a grave. That night, Rowan returned to her motel and pinned the bracelet to her evidence board. The charm glinted under the dull ceiling light like a whisper from the past. She reviewed the evidence again. Emma had run. She'd bled. She had hidden, or tried to. Someone had found her and tried to erase her. Burned scarf, crushed bracelet, a fragment of bone, all left behind like a warning or a mistake. Rowan couldn't decide which. Then a call came in from the lab. The fabric found at the scene. The scarf tested positive for accelerant. Gasoline. Someone had tried to set fire to the scene long after the forest fire risk had passed. It wasn't panic. That was planning. Rowan stared at the board. Tyler had moved out of state, but Griffin Lake, still missing. Had Emma trusted the wrong man again? Before she could ask more questions, her phone buzzed once more. A local hiker, older woman, had just come forward after seeing the news. She claimed she had seen a man dragging something through the forest trail last spring. He told me it was firewood, the woman said. It didn't look like firewood. Rowan's heart kicked. She booked a time to meet her in the morning. Luna, meanwhile, still wouldn't leave the forest. Her eyes stayed fixed on the moss-covered hollow just beyond the fern line. As if she knew they hadn't found everything yet. The woman's name was Agnes Holloway, a retired biology teacher who hiked the Umpqua trails 3 times a week. She sat across from Detective Rowan at a ranger substation, clutching a steaming mug of tea with trembling fingers. I didn't think much of it at the time, she said, but when I saw the dog on the news and that bracelet, I knew I had to come forward. She described the moment, a foggy morning in late spring. She'd been near the West Fork trailhead, about 10 miles from the original search zone, when she saw a man hauling a heavy tarp slung over his shoulder. He startled when I passed, smiled too fast, said he was collecting firewood for a nearby camp. Did he give a name? Rowan asked. Agnes shook her head. But I remember his hat, red and gray. Some kind of logo, maybe a sports team. Rowan pulled up photos on her phone. That one, Agnes said without hesitation, pointing. It was a photo of Tyler Moore, taken at a baseball game, red and gray Mariners cap on his head. Rowan felt her stomach knot. For nearly a year, Tyler had insisted he never left the campsite that night, claimed he dozed off after Emma walked away and woke to find her missing. No movement, no driving, no leaving the area. Just a sleepless night filled with confusion and fear. But something didn't add up. Rowan returned to her office and dug into the GPS metadata from Tyler's rental vehicle. Logs had been pulled early in the investigation, but never fully cross-checked against his statements. That night, she did. The results stunned her. Tyler's car had moved, not once, but twice, between the hours of 2:30 a.m. and 5:10 a.m. the night Emma vanished. Had traveled north along an access road before stopping near the trailhead Agnes had described. He hadn't just sat and waited in fear. He'd been doing something. When confronted with the data the next day during a video interview, Tyler's cool composure cracked. Just for a second, maybe I drove around a bit, trying to find her. He said, I didn't remember at first. I was in shock. You drove 15 miles away. Rowan asked quietly. Tyler blinked, calculating. Maybe. Panicked. Maybe I thought I saw something. It's all a blur now. Rowan stared at him. Told us you never left the camp. I didn't want to seem careless, he snapped. The mask slipping for a breath. Emma already thought I couldn't protect her. Rowan leaned forward. Did she need protecting or escaping? Tyler didn't answer. Back at the forest site, Luna barked again, a sharp sound that sent a shiver down the backs of the cadaver dogs. They had circled a large pine several times, refusing to leave its base. The forensic team dug beneath the root system. What they found wasn't a full body. It was a charred plastic watch, stopped at 3:42 a.m., with Emma's initials engraved beneath the band, the same watch she wore every day. Same time Tyler had claimed he was asleep in the tent. The circle was tightening. Rowan had enough to reopen Tyler's alibi investigation. She re-examined traffic cam footage from nearby forest roads. Sure enough, a single blurry frame captured Tyler's rental vehicle at 3:58 a.m., headlights off. He had lied. Badly. And as the noose tightened, one question emerged. If Tyler had driven that far, what or who had he been dragging through the woods? Started with a map, folded inside an old Ranger ledger. Detective Rowan found a scribbled X drawn in faded red ink, not official, not labeled, at the very edge of the Umpqua district boundary. The map had been discovered in a supply box, left behind by a seasonal forest worker who hadn't returned the following year. His replacement had found it while cleaning the ranger outpost and turned it in. The mark led to a clearing, and in that clearing stood a cabin. No driveway, no mailbox. No solar panels, no visible path. Just a leaning wooden structure swallowed by trees and silence. Rowan brought Officer Glenn Morgan and two deputies for backup. The approach was tense. Moss covered the roof like a blanket, and the front door hung slightly ajar. Luna was with them, tail stiff, nose quivering. Inside, the cabin was dark, musty. Dust floated in columns of light that pierced through cracked planks. The interior was crude: one cot, a water canister, and a metalwood stove. But what caught Rowan's eye was the stack of sketchbooks near the bed. She flipped one open. Pencil drawings, dozens of them. Emma's face, from different angles, in motion, laughing, sleeping. One sketch showed her crying. Another showed her walking through the woods, head turned back. Beneath each drawing was a date. Rowan scanned the names signed in the corners. G.L. Griffin Lake. Her pulse surged. So he had been here. This was his place. Or it had been. Further inside, they found a metal lockbox under a loose floorboard. Inside, a burner phone, dead but intact, a Polaroid photo of Emma and Luna near a riverside trail, and a crumpled note in Emma's handwriting. I told you we can't keep meeting here. I need to end things clean. Please don't come near the camp. I'll talk to him. Just give me time. Rowan stared at it. A warning, a plea. But was Griffin the danger, or trying to stay away from it? Outside, Luna began barking hard, urgent. She had dug near the side of the cabin, pawing frantically at the earth. Morgan knelt beside her and pulled free a small wooden crate wrapped in tarp and duct tape. Inside were several items wrapped in cloth: a second bracelet identical to Emma's, unburned, a journal belonging to Griffin Lake, and a stained one that matched the description of what Griffin had worn the day he disappeared from his apartment. Rowan opened the journal carefully. The entries painted a portrait of a man unraveling. She's not safe. He watches her even when she sleeps. I think he knows. I hate that I'm hiding. But if I push too hard, she'll suffer for it. She said she'd end it after the trip. I waited. She never came back. The last entry was dated the day after Emma vanished. She's gone, and I think he did it. But if I speak up, I die too. That was the last line. Rowan exhaled, slowly closing the book. Griffin hadn't run. He'd disappeared out of fear, possibly dead, possibly still hiding. One thing was becoming clear. He may have been the only one who tried to save Emma, and paid the price for it. That night, Rowan placed a call to the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit. This case had shifted. They weren't just chasing a missing person anymore. They were tracking a predator, and the Woods had kept his secrets for far too long. 3 years after Emma Cade vanished, the forest still held its secrets like clenched teeth. Roots tangled, moss thick, shadows heavy. But Luna didn't forget. The morning was cold when she stopped in her tracks. Her paw hovered over the moss, nose twitching, body trembling. Behind her, Detective Rowan and the forensic team paused, watching as Luna circled a small hollow beneath a curtain of overgrowth, a shallow rock pit, barely noticeable from the path. "Mark it," Rowan said. Officer Glenn Morgan carefully pulled back a thick patch of moss and pine needles, revealing dislodged stones, unnaturally ranged. Ground had been disturbed long ago, but time had softened its scars. The forensics team moved in. Quiet, focused. They began to dig. The scent of soil turned bitter halfway down. Then someone gasped. A glint of faded nylon, Emma's backpack. Same one she'd been seen wearing in trail photos. Its straps were frayed, its zippers rusted. Inside, a decayed sweatshirt, an empty bottle of sunscreen, and a phone, long dead. Screen cracked like a spider web. One of the forensic techs carefully bagged it. Beneath the pack, more dirt was brushed away, and there it was, a partial skeleton. The bones were brittle but unmistakably human. Nearby, a boot still clung to a broken ankle. The laces had disintegrated. What remained was heartbreak preserved by the earth. The forest had kept her. And now, finally, it gave her back. Rowan knelt down slowly, watching as a tech pulled the phone from the evidence bag and connected it to a recovery device. To everyone's shock, data began to load, fragments of old messages, timestamps, deleted files. Then came a single audio memo, saved weeks before the trip. It had been deleted, but not overwritten. Rowan pressed play. There was a long silence, just the sound of wind and breath. Then Emma's voice, soft, shaky. "If I die, if something happens, Tyler did it." The room froze. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Rowan's throat tightened. The weight of those words, spoken so privately, so quietly, never meant for anyone but the future, struck like a stone to the chest. Emma had known. She had feared the worst and prepared for it. She had left her truth behind, not in shouts, accusations, but in a whisper buried in hollow earth. The coroner confirmed what everyone already knew. The bones belonged to Emma Cade. Back at the edge of the site, Luna stood guard. Her head was low, tail still. She didn't whimper. She didn't move. She had done what she came to do. She had led them home. Rowan stood beside her, hand gently on her back. "We found her, girl," she whispered. "You did it." And deep in the woods, under the last October leaves, a small cross was gently placed beside the pit, marked only with a name, a date, and a carved silver moon. The champagne glasses clinked. String lights twinkled under the open sky. Guests laughed and danced in soft linen and pastel dresses, unaware of the shadow about to fall. At the center of it all stood Tyler Moore, smiling, dressed in a crisp white suit, holding the hand of a woman whose blonde hair and delicate features made more than one guest whisper, "She looks just like Emma." Her name was Rachel Carter, a kindergarten teacher from Idaho. Sweet, quiet, eager to please. Exactly Tyler's type. They met 6 months ago, moved in together after 4. The engagement followed weeks later. Friends called it romantic. Detective Rowan called it a pattern. As Rachel gave a toast, describing Tyler as kind, patient, and protective, Rowan stepped through the gates of the venue flanked by agents and local officers. She didn't wait for the speeches to end. Tyler Moore, "You're under arrest for the murder of Emma Cade." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The music stopped cold. Rachel dropped her glass. Tyler blinked, then slowly raised his hands. "I'm sorry. What is this?" he said, that familiar mock innocence curling across his face. "This is a wedding rehearsal. You can finish it in a courtroom," Rowan said. "Have your voice on Emma's phone, your fingerprints at the burial site, the bones, the GPS data, and the body. He turned to Rachel. She's making a mistake. You believe me, don't you? Rachel didn't answer. Her lips quivered. Her eyes darted to Rowan, then to the badge, then back to the man she thought she knew. As Tyler was cuffed, he turned back toward the crowd, lips curving upward. Tell them I smiled, he said. Tell them I wasn't afraid. The reporters did. In court, Tyler was the same. Polished suit. No remorse. He listened calmly as the prosecution laid out the case. Emma's bruises from an earlier visit. She never reported Griffin's death. No circumstantial, linked by location and motive. The timeline, the phone, the audio memo. Luna's return, the grave. Watch. And still, Tyler smiled. It wasn't joy. It was control. Rachel sat in the back of the courtroom, pale and shaking. Only then did she realize the subtle things. How Tyler always ordered for her at restaurants. How he installed cameras in their apartment for safety. How he made her cut off her ex entirely. The mask had cracked. She left the courtroom quietly and never came back. Outside, protesters held signs with Emma's face. Parents walked silently through the crowd, hand in hand, hollow but proud. Inside, Tyler whispered to his lawyer, then looked straight at Rowan. He winked. A predator caught, but not broken. Rowan leaned over to Emma's mother and said quietly, "We may never know everything he did, but we know enough." The jury agreed. Guilty. Life without parole. But even as the sentence echoed through the courtroom, Rowan knew this story wouldn't truly end here, because control doesn't die in a cell. It waits. Watches. And sometimes it starts over with a new smile and a new victim. The headstone sat beneath a weeping willow on a small hill overlooking the Oregon Valley. Smooth gray marble etched with delicate vines, a silver moon, and one name, Emma Cade 199 for 2020. She spoke in quiet courage. 3 years had passed since the night she vanished. 3 years since the tent flap fluttered open and Luna's bark cut the silence. 3 years of searching, grieving, unearthing hard truths, and finally, finding her. Now, a modest memorial. Held on what would have been Emma's 31st birthday. Her parents stood near the grave, fingers laced, shoulders gently touching, but trembling beneath the weight of what had been lost. Friends gathered in a semicircle, holding white flowers. Some had driven hours to be there. Luna lay at the base of the headstone. Her fur had grayed around the muzzle. Her eyes, once alert and restless, now held a tired kind of knowing. Every Sunday, without fail, Emma's father brought her here. Luna would wait quietly beside the grave, for minutes, for hours, rain or sun, not out of confusion, out of loyalty. She never whimpers anymore. Janice Cade said softly to the group. She just stays. The breeze stirred as Emma's younger cousin stepped forward, holding a folded letter yellowed with time. The writing on the envelope read, "To be opened only if I'm gone." It had been found tucked inside one of Emma's old art journals, unopened until recently. The cousin cleared her throat and began to read. "I don't know if I'll ever be brave enough to leave, loud enough to be heard, but I write this in case my silence outlives me. If you're reading this, I hope it means the truth came out, that someone listened, that someone saw the way he looked at me when no one else did, that someone believed I wasn't just being emotional. Sometimes people hurt you in ways no one can see, with their words, with their quiet punishments, with their love that feels more like a cage. But I have hope that someday, if I disappear, I won't disappear completely, that someone, maybe Luna, will lead you back, and that you'll know I tried. I wanted to live. I wanted to be free. There wasn't a dry eye around the grave." Mark Cade knelt beside Luna and gently placed the letter back into a glass box beside the headstone. A single white lily was laid next to it. In the distance, a breeze rustled through the trees, and for just a moment, the sunlight broke through the clouds and bathed the grave in gold. Luna didn't move. She watched the wind dance across the grass like it carried Emma's voice with it. Detective Rowan stood near the edge of the group, arms folded. She wasn't in uniform. She hadn't come to speak, just to witness. To remember, because this story wasn't about police work, or trials, or even closure. It was about a young woman who had tried to escape her cage, Who left behind more than evidence? She left a truth so quiet, it almost didn't survive, but it did, because of her voice, because of a loyal dog, because someone chose to listen. As the crowd slowly drifted away, Luna remained. She would sit beside that stone until the sun sank behind the trees, the same way she had waited. The empty tent, not expecting return, but guarding memory.